less stressful for me to deal with. At least while doing this at the same time, anyway.
Yeah. Okay, that's actually... How'd you know where to start that 13 from that side?
I guessed that it was at least the middle 10.
Okay.
Other than that... Because sometimes what I'll do is I'll be like, well, I don't know completely where this goes, but it goes, like, at least from here to here, and kind of have a starting point and then kind of figure it out. Which sometimes helps.
So what made you start buying PlayStation games again?
Well, because A, I have none.
Yeah, I know that, but, like...
And B, I was like, I want to actually be able to play stuff on it rather than have this system just sit there when it's functional and not actually have a use.
So would you ever be looking into, like, some sort of, like, PlayStation, like, upscaler or something for the system, or like an HDMI upscaler or some sort of thing like that?
No, I just use it the way it is, but, like...
Okay.
I might eventually at least need to buy new controllers, because the ones that I have are kind of functional, but, like, barely.
Yeah.
And I may end up picking, like, up some other games eventually, but as of right now, it's more kind of a, like... I'm going for the stuff that, A, I knew that was kind of, like, in the heyday of when I played PlayStation 1, like, this is the stuff I would have played that I wish that I still owned. And I'm kind of going for that type of stuff first, and then if I pick up anything else after that, I'm kind of undecided on as of yet, but... I'm at least, like, as a starting point, I want to get back the stuff that I basically had, type deal, so... at least that's my starting point plan, anyway. Which I feel like is fair. And whether or not that's going to be doable for every single game, I don't know, but I'm going to try and get as much as I can anyway. As long as it's like a half reasonable price and not like $2,000 or something stupid. Like,
well, you're buying PlayStation games, not Sculptor's Cut here, so...
No, that's what I mean, but like as long as it's not like ridiculously stupid pricing, I'm willing to pay it for the most part, like...
I feel like, I don't know what the most expensive PlayStation games are, and I feel like a lot of the ones that are probably more expensive tend to be like Black Label games of certain things.
No, and I mean, I can understand that.
Like, I know that's a thing for a lot of people anyway, like,
That's the difference. To me, I don't overly care if it's Black Label or not. As long as I have the game, I don't care.
Yeah, because...
Like, there's... Especially because I'm not doing it for, like, a collector's purpose thing.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, I would just rather have the games versus, like, not.
Yeah, no, I get that.
But I had to go through the stuff that I own, especially because I had to make a list of, like, what cases and stuff need to be replaced so that I can actually have discs and stuff in them. And there was some stuff that I owned that didn't even have cases to begin with, because apparently the cases got that destroyed over time, I guess.
Oh, come on!
So I had to end up buying, like, a spare ton of blank cases. That I don't necessarily have games for all of them at the moment, but it was just easier to buy them in a pack rather than individually.
Let's hope we get some better, like, hints on this round.
And that way, if I ever get extra stuff, I have the cases that I'll be able to use, so... Just decided that was more worth my cash than trying to hunt down individual cases to buy exactly how many I needed. Especially when I might end up getting more stuff later. Just
yeah.
But, yeah. Other than the new controller thing, everything else for the system pretty much works as is, which is kind of somewhat crazy, but To be fair, I've never really done anything to break it, so...
Mm-hmm.
Games for it, on the other hand, not so much, but... The system itself is fine.
Yeah. See, don't mind me. I may be at a point now where I really don't care about using a screen cap to remember where we haven't done things in this. Which is why I'm remembering certain things here.
I mean, whatever works, works. Like...
Yeah.
It was also just really funny going back through my PS1 stuff, because there's a lot of it that is, like, not necessarily proper copies of games.
You know what I'm about to say to that?
Well,
do what you want, because a pirate is free. You are a pirate.
Although I wasn't the one that pirated the games. How I ended up with copies, I don't know. But over half of the games I still have left that function are burnt copies. But that's because the system allowed that back then.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't as bad as the Sega Dreamcast, but it wasn't really much.
No, that's like the biggest
system.
system.
For shit's sake, sorry.
Well, good. I think we're a lot closer to it there now, so... Because I think I know what it is now. Even if we didn't finish it, if it's heading down the place I think it's heading down. Which I haven't decided in terms of stuff if I'm gonna end up replacing those with legitimate copies or not. I might not, but... As long as the other copies I have that still work, I'm just like, oh well.
Depend on the game for me too, honestly.
Yeah, and that's fair. Which is why I'm like, that might be something I think about eventually replacing those, but for the minute I'm more like going for games I don't have versus the stuff that I already do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also like a common sense person.
So something you don't have?
Budgeting myself, but like not going for buying every single game I don't have at once.
I don't see the problem in that.
Well, especially because some of them are like the stuff that I've ordered so far in terms of pricing isn't like super terrible, but there's stuff I know that's going to be harder for me to find that's not the same price without like paying at least a little bit more for them. So yeah,
there we go. I don't know what you thought this was.
Piano.
Oh,
yeah.
That did not look like a piano to me at first.
I don't know. I spend way too much time knowing weird things.
Yeah, that's fair.
But no, yeah, because most of the games I've paid for so far, at most, with shipping, are about $25 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
Which isn't terrible. But I know for a fact, because I've looked them up before, there's games on my list of stuff that I want that are gonna cost me at least $70 or $80 each. And that's where I'm like, not hesitant, but like I'll probably get like less of those types of games at a time versus the cheaper ones, just because that makes the most sense.
It's scary for me when you say 70 or 80, because to me that doesn't even feel like... That's still a lot, but that's still low compared to most games I buy.
Well, the stuff for the systems you have too is also very different in terms of what's the most expensive in terms of pricing.
Yeah,
too.
and like some games I just don't agree with the pricing on at all. Like a lot of GameCube games are stupid expensive now.
That's what I mean. Like, not that I won't get them, I'll probably just get less of those at a time, just as a convenience thing. But, like, I will end up getting all of them at some point. Just, I'm spacing them out enough so that I'm not, like, buying directly everything at once. Just for, as a convenience and budgetary thing, where I'm just like, that's just the more common sense way to do things.
Like, last year, I spent $100 on Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, which admittedly, I didn't want to, and I'm pissed because that was something I used to own, and I'm pretty sure somebody stole that from me back in high school. I'm only saying that because I know for a fact I used to own that, and I know I'd Let's Played it just as we went into high school. And then it has since just disappeared from me for some reason. And the only reason I spent $100 on it is because I could tell it wasn't an original case, and it normally goes higher. And I was like, I'm never gonna see this game cheaper again.
Yeah, no, and that makes sense. And that's why I'm kind of on watch in terms of stuff where, like, I'm not buying every game right off the bat, because eventually, depending on the seller, I might be able to get some of them cheaper than what they are up now. So that's why I'm kind of like, I'm not going to do it for everything, but, like, the stuff that's probably going to be a little more difficult to find, I'm kind of like more so watching for it and paying attention to it to try and find it for the best that I can, rather than just whatever some of the really stupid prices are people are selling stuff for that it isn't really worth. Where I'm just like, I'd rather watch it and be more, not hesitant about it, but, like, cautious about it, because I feel like in some cases, especially when I've been known to buy stuff, it'll end up being like $20 cheaper after the fact. And then I'm just like, that just pissed me off to no end, and then I'm just like, yeah, no.
Like, I'm genuinely curious what, like, some of the more expensive PlayStation 1 games are, because, like, on N64 I'd be able to tell you, but PlayStation, like, I never really... Well, PlayStation's weird because I feel like a lot of the best-selling, like... There's a lot more PlayStations out there, and thus there's a lot more games out there.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's also fair.
So...
But yeah, and it's not one of those things where, like, I'm going for, like, necessarily the super collector stuff either. So, like, I know that, like, out of the more expensive stuff, at least some of it probably won't be too bad. Whether or not I can find all of it is going to be debatable just from an availability thing, but... I mean, for the most part, I don't think most of it is going to be too crazy. But I also do why some of it is probably going to be an issue in terms of availability, is I forget that formatting is a thing.
Like, PAL-based?
That they're region locked on PS1.
Yeah, well, that shouldn't be a hard thing to tell.
No, I'm saying finding the game, like, certain games in a format for here might be more of an issue. Not all of them, but certain, in particular, like, the more popular ones.
I've never heard of anybody having an issue with, like, not to say games aren't region locking, but I've never heard of anyone finding an issue with, like, certain games being, like, harder to find depending on the region, I don't think. Unless it's, like, unless it's Japanese games that are cheaper there, like, Earthbound.
Yeah, no, and I feel like, because I don't mean in terms of that, but I mean, like...
Yeah, I'm gonna start this puzzle and then I'm gonna go grab water here. I'm thirsty as hell right now.
At least in terms of, like, what I've scrolled through so far, I've noticed a lot more games tend to be available in PAL format than NTSC.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Not all of them, but some of them. But oh yeah, because there's a couple games, for example, at least with current eBay listings that I've scrolled through, I can only find in PAL, not NTSC. But it's also because they tend to be a lot more popular titles, too.
Well, then again, when me and you think of popular PlayStation 1 titles, we probably have very different trains of thought.
No, I'm talking like Spyro, Crash.
Oh, okay. Well, I was thinking, like, Metal Gear, Final Fantasy VII, Tomb Raider, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair, too. But granted, that's never stuff I've played, so it's not cared, like, stuff that I'm necessarily...
Okay, would you really, like... Okay, this is a dumb question, though. Would you really want, like, Crash and Spyro when you have the remakes of those?
Maybe just as a nostalgia thing. Not that it's necessary, but, like, those are two that I can think of. Not that those are necessarily ones that I'd buy, but in terms of the more popular stuff, that's what I'd think of, that I've seen a lot more PAL versions of rather than NTSC.
I mean, yeah, that I can at least kind of get. I'm just thinking, like, would you really, I guess, like, want or need those when the remakes exist? Like, I don't know if this was true or not, but I remember reading somewhere that, like, the reason the PlayStation 1 Classic didn't have those games beyond licensing, I guess, was that the remakes, like, existed.
No, and that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why stuff like that, I'm like, I may or may not pick up copies of those games. It's like, if I can find them, cool. If not, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's not like, not like necessary as some of the other ones, but it's like more of a, if I can find it, cool. If not, I don't overly care.
Yeah.
Especially because I have the remakes for both, so.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's other games on my list of stuff that I would care to have a lot more than those.
Yeah. Such as Blasto, Bubsy 3D. Such as...
No. Which, ironically, you want to know what's really funny? You sent me the thing when I said I was buying them about Blasto until I realized I had a PlayStation 1 demo disc with Blasto on it.
I don't even really know what Blasto's about. I just hear people, like, meme about it from time to time. Like, it almost seems like one of those, like, meme games on the PlayStation.
Yeah, no, it's just funny, because when you sent that thing to me, I'm like, oh, yeah, this game or whatever. I was literally going through my PlayStation stuff, and granted, it was one of the discs that I don't remember if it was one of the ones that worked or didn't work, but it was one of the demo discs I had actually had a playable demo for Blasto on it. Not that I've ever played it.
I mean, if it was a demo disc, why wouldn't you play it, I guess?
At the time, I just didn't. It was funny because I had a crap load of demo discs at one point where there was just certain ones that I just didn't use because I didn't care about any of the games on them, if that makes sense.
I mean, it does, yeah.
Because, like, there was demo discs I just ended up, like, owning but barely ever playing, if at all, just because there was no demos on them where I'm like, oh, this seems like something I'd play that I would consider interesting.
Mm-hmm. This is looking kind of symmetrical, which I kind of like the look of. There we go.
There we go. Keep missing that many left.
I cannot tell what this is supposed to be.
A coat, I think, but like...
A what?
Just like a jacket, I think.
Oh, probably, actually. There was one earlier in the thing that was like a necktie that I straight up didn't know either.
Welcome to me knowing things for no apparent reason.